There have been a couple of times in this series that I've said I'm done with Kiss records. Not that I'm done with Kiss, not like I don't want to talk about Kiss anymore, but all the records that I wanted to buy, I had them already. There were no more to buy, or they were too expensive, they were unavailable. And then at some point, those bastards at Amazon, and I thank them for it, they out of nowhere, they have more Kiss albums available. And today is one of those ones. I'm going to talk about Carnival of Souls. And as a spoiler, I don't usually give spoilers. I've got 2 more Kiss albums in the hopper, all ready to go. So you can stick around for some of those. Mike Pratt, I think, is the only one that really likes it when I talk about Kiss. And I think he especially likes, Mike is going to like this episode because it's Carnival of Souls, as I said. And he's got on the record saying that he loves this album. I think he even said after the classic First Six, the debut album through Love Gun, he said this was his favorite after all those. After all the Kiss records, 24 studio records they have, if you count the 1978 solo records, Mike Pratt said this is his number 7 after, I don't know his order, but after the classic 6. Carnival of Souls is number 7 for Mike Pratt. Now for me, I did the Kiss, remember, I did the official Kiss album rankings. You might see some other videos of people talking about Kiss rankings. Fake news, they don't mean anything. Mine is the one that you should follow. And I wasn't sure, but I looked in my notes. And I had this out of 24 Kiss studio albums. I had this ranked at number 16 when I did that 2 years ago or something. And looking back, and I think I would change it now. I think I would put it higher. I had this just below Dynasty and Animalize. I think I like this better than Dynasty and Animalize. This is a very divisive record. I think it's much more unliked than liked. I don't know if I've ever, and I'm kind of familiar with Kiss fans and what Kiss fans think about the various stages and albums of and periods and things that Kiss does. I don't think this album is rated very high. I don't know if anybody says it's my favorite Kiss album ever, but I know a lot of people say they hate it, that it's their worst. They even think it's worse than The Elder and Psycho Circus, and both those albums suck, I think. No, not I think. Remember, this is fact. I like this album. As I said, I'll put it up to number 14 out of 24. And I can kind of understand why people don't like it. Now, what I don't like about it is it's more bullshit from Kiss. It's more crap of them just going on with the trends, which, God, they did starting with Dynasty. A little bit of a disco feel, Unmasked, kind of continued the disco feel, maybe a little pop. And then they said, no, this is no good. That's not getting us anywhere. So they did The Elder. Oof. Stinker. Horrible. And, trying to win the critics and everything. And then they said, well, that was no good. So they did Creatures of the Night and Lick It Up, which were, a little bit back to, not quite back to their roots, but heavier, more like heavy rock albums. And then when hair metal, if you want to call it that, started to become popular, kind of Animalized, I guess. Asylum for sure, Crazy Nights, Hot in the Shade, that stretch of 4 albums, they were kind of in that hair metal territory, along with Bon Jovi and Def Leppard and whoever. And then when that kind of started falling out of favor in 92, they did Revenge. They were back to Black Leather. A little bit of a heavier, stronger sound, more rock sound, although not back to their original sound, which is fine. And then this was the studio album, and I'm pointing at it, and I'll show it. Here it is. Then they went back to this. Now, this came out in 97, but was recorded, I think, mostly in 95. And this was one of my first memories of the internet. When the internet first was a new thing in 1995, 94, 95, I guess, 95. And I first started using the internet in 95. This was one of the first things I heard about. I remember this leaked in 90. The album came out officially in 97. It leaked in 95, 96. I didn't have it back then, but I remember reading about it on the internet. People had very detailed descriptions of what each song was, and they turned out to be accurate. And I don't know, but overall, I do like it. I can understand why people don't like it. My only problem is that it's more just Kiss trying to fit in with whatever was popular at the time, or whatever they thought would make them more popular at the time. Gene has gone, I don't know if this was on the record or it's been, I think, well established, that he said at this time he wanted to be Billy Corgan. And of all the people You could want to be, is Billy Corgan really the person you want to be as a musician? I don't know, but Gene did. I guess Gene wanted to fit in. This also has some, I think, some outside writers, and I'm not overly familiar with the workings of it. I know Bruce Kulick played some bass on it, maybe a lot of bass. I think I love this as a drum. I think Eric Singer's drumming is awesome on this album. In terms of the performances, I think they all sound great. Well, Gene and Paul, they sing great. I think the playing is great. It's a good sounding record. It is just a little bit too, people call it their grunge record. I'm not sure about that. There are definitely some moments of, if you want to call it grunge, or a darker sound, which I'll get to when I get to the track by track shortly. So I can see that Kiss fans don't like, but honestly, looking at it objectively, I don't think it's nearly as, I can see if you don't like it. I don't know that it deserves the hate that a lot of people give it. At worst, I don't think that. At best, like I said, I like it. And this was pretty much the end of Kiss as we knew it. They, the record, I know when it came out, it was 97 and Kiss were on top of the world. This came out very quietly. There were no videos for it, really no promotion. I guess the legend has it that this came out as a way to counter the bootleggers. This had been around at this point for a couple of years. And I guess they finally just said, yeah, let's get it out there and put an end to this and give people what they want, because Kiss is about giving people what they want. And you can see it's a pretty lazy effort. That's a really shitty album cover, worse than Hot in the Shade. And Hot in the Shade is pretty bad. Amazing that Kiss had such great album covers, and then they went to this and Hot in the Shade. But there you go. Oh, and it's subtitled The Final Sessions. Carnival of Souls, The Final Sessions. Right there. And it's got the hype sticker for all of these. One of them didn't have it. What did I do recently? Unmasked, I think, didn't have the hype sticker, or I can't remember. But it says 180 gram audiophile vinyl. That's always going to get a little chuckle or a raised eyebrow from me. First US vinyl pressing since 1985 editions. Very lazy hype sticker too. Well, there was no 1985 edition of this because it came out in 1997. So there it is. I'll open it up now and talk about it track by track. They never, as far as I know, they've never done any of the songs from this live. I think even in, they do the Kiss cruises where they do some great, they pull out some real rarities and I don't know, stuff that they typically don't play in their live shows. I don't think even at those shows, I don't think they've done any of this live. I think Paul Stanley has denounced this album. I think he's not very happy with it. Retroactively, of course, had this come out at the time, he would have said this was the best Kiss album since Destroyer, as they all were after Destroyer. So let me open it up. All right. All right, so there it is. I don't know what's inside. I did have this on CD. I think even the inside was lazy. There was no lyrics, no liner notes to speak of. And I would imagine the record is the same. I can't imagine they put any effort into it. Let me see. It's the dreaded, just the plastic sleeve. Yeah, nothing. And there it is, if you want to see that. Anything inside? No, nothing inside. Yeah, so that's it. It's kind of what I was expecting. I think the CD had something at least. I mean, they have to have a booklet. Maybe it's just one of those two panel ones. I don't know. All right, well, I'll go through this now. Now something else. This album, I listened to it the other day, and I thought it's really long. It feels long, and I checked the total running time of it. And I think it's 61 minutes. This is a single album, and as far as I can remember, don't albums have a maximum of around somewhere in the 52, 54, 55 minute range? So all of you audiophiles are maybe not going to be happy, or maybe not happy with the sound of this. I'll see when I listen to it. There's no way I'm going to be able to hear a difference on my little Mickey Mouse record player over it. over here. And it is literally Mickey Mouse. It has Mickey Mouse spinning around when you listen to the records. Yeah, so they crammed 61 minutes onto this. They just don't care, I guess. And speaking of that, I talked about Down Nola the other day, a horrible episode. And I listened to that record, I think that same day or the next day or something, the actual record. And I don't like these double records unless they were meant to be a double record at the time. It's just too much, 3 songs, then you flip it over, 3 songs, you flip it over. It just kind of distracted me from it. It took away the flow of the record. I don't know why I said that about Down Nola, but there it is. So the first song on this is, and it is a pretty kind of a dark album by Kiss standards for sure. Not necessarily heavy, but dark. But Hate is the first song. This is a Gene song. This was Gene's first. Well, he opened with. They opened with a Gene song on Revenge. Unholy was the first song, which I think was the first Gene song ever to open a record. And they continued with this one, and I love Unholy. I think Hate is pretty good. Ladies and Gentlemen from Boise, Idaho. I guess that's Paul Stanley's distorted voice. It's pretty heavy. Hate is what I am, because underneath these walls there beats the heart of man. Pretty heavy for Kiss. Although I don't think it's that much different than, I think if this album had come out as scheduled in 95, I guess it would have originally come out if they hadn't had the reunion. I think it would have been more widely accepted. Is Hate really that much different than Unholy? It's kind of a dark, I would say in many ways, it's got the kind of the Gene trademarks to it. Vocally, musically, it's maybe a little bit heavy. I don't think it's that much different than Unholy, but because this came out in 97 and was recorded in 95, everybody labeled it grunge, which is caca, I think. The next song is Rain. I think it's gonna rain. Kind of a funny thing about this one, it's funny hearing Paul Stanley sing. The opening lines are, I can't stand myself anymore. No, what is it? Tell me what you want me to be. I can't stand myself up. I can't stand myself anymore. Something, I can't pick myself off the floor. I can't pick myself up off the floor. Very strange hearing the star child, Mr. You can do anything in life and I'm so happy and live to win and everything, singing that I can't stand myself anymore. This one's quite a dark song, but I like it. I have no problem. Actually, I don't have a problem with any of these songs. I think it's gonna rain. It's got kind of a slow, and this was also produced by Toby Wright, who produced the Alice in Chains album, which was the self-titled, which came out in 90, I think also 95. And so that's another grunge connection there. The next one is Master and Slave. This is probably my favorite on this record. This is much more up-tempo, and it's got kind of a good bounce and swing and groove to it. This is another Paul Stanley sung song, and I don't know who wrote any of these songs because there's no liner notes. I love Master and Slave. I can't rank it as one of the greatest Kiss songs ever, but I'm pretty sure it is my favorite on this album. And I especially love at the end, the chorus is, every time I see the sign, tell me what's the bottom line, tell me, I just want to take my turn now before I crash and burn. And then Gene sings the final, he sings that in the final verse or final 2 verses. I think Gene sounds great singing it. Maybe that's why I like that song so much, because they both sing as they did with Spit and Shout It Out Loud and God Gave Rock and Roll to You, even though that song sucks horribly. And I also love Master and Slave. Paul Stanley has a great scream in this. And I like the middle section too. I just want to count to 4. What does he say? I want to count to 4, catch my breath and count to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then it's kind of a quiet part. That's a little bit grungy, dark. And then later, Paul Stanley has a great scream. Excellent song, I think, Master and Slave. Childhood's End. This is a Gene song. I like it. Lyrically, it reminded me of, the very first time I ever heard it even, it reminded me of Best of Friends, a fantastic Dangerous Toys song on their second record called Hellacious Acres. You Were Always My Friend. It's Childhood's End. Woke up. God, what are the lyrics? Sunday morning in the New York Times, I read you died last night. I guess about a friend, probably not a true story, but a friend dying and reading about it in the paper, almost lyrically exactly like Best of Friends. I Will Be There. This is a Paul Stanley song, ballad-esque. Nice one, acoustic. I think it would have fit in fine on Revenge. Maybe even more appropriate than Every Time I Look at You, which was the ballad-esque song on Revenge. I Will Be There. Great song. Jungle. As far as I know, without checking, this is the longest Kiss song in their history. This is 6 minutes and 49 seconds. Good one. It's got a good groove to it. I like the... yeah, it's got a good groove to it. Oh, in the jungle. Yeah, Jungle is good. Kind of a little bit of a funky groove there. I like it a lot. Long song, 6 minutes 49 seconds. Side 2, so that was what, 6 songs on side 1. And the second one is also 6. So side B now, In My Head. This is a heavy one. Dun, 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 dun. I'm obnoxious and no one's home. In my head, it's in my head. A Gene song, again, I think a pretty, again, wouldn't have been out of place on Revenge, I think, with Unholy and Hate. Why not In My Head? It Never Goes Away. This is Paul Stanley. This is by far the grungiest song on it, the darkest. You know, that opening to it is kind of very, I think, Alice in Chainsy. But I like it. Great vocal. Paul Stanley sings, I think, really great on It Never Goes Away. Take Me Like a Hurricane. I think it's, oh no, that's Rain. I'm going back. And even if I could, and even if I would, it never goes away. Yay! Yeah, good song. Seduction of the Innocent. This is another Gene song. This has a kind of a weird, this sounds like, in retrospect, kind of what Asshole, Gene's solo album, what Gene's Asshole turned out to be. I think Seduction of the Innocent could have later fit well on Asshole. It's got a, is it a Middle Eastern feel or something? Kiss goes Middle Eastern. I like it. It's got another one that's got kind of a good groove to it. I Confess. Who sings this one? Paul or Gene? You Confess. That's a Gene song. That one's okay. It's probably maybe my least favorite. Yeah, that one's okay. I don't dislike it, but it is my least favorite. 2 more, and next is In the Mirror. This has a cool, kind of a funky, janky riff opening it. Take a look in the mirror. Yeah, I like that song too. And the last one, this is maybe the for me, I think, the most surprising song on this album. It's called I Walk Alone. It's also long. I just saw that it's 6 minutes and 8 seconds. This is Bruce Kulick singing this one. Now, I don't know if it's a bias because it's the lead guitarist singing kind of like a token song. I think, and I remember for the first time I heard this, I thought he sounds like Ace Frehley, Bruce Kulick. Because I think he never really even sang backup, in Kiss before that. And here he was singing lead. I like this song a lot. I didn't have high expectations when you get these token songs, but I think I Walk Alone is, I would even say it's an excellent song. A little bit long, but it's okay. Yeah, and I think Bruce Kulick is all over this album. He played bass on, I don't know if it was every song or almost every song, as mentioned. This is, I would say, largely a Bruce Kulick album, as much as Gene and Paul, except for the vocals. So that's it. So overall, and leave a comment down below, won't you? And tell me how much you hate Carnival of Souls. I know some of you do. Of the 53 people that might watch this, I don't know how many of you hate it, but I wouldn't say I love it, but I like it a lot, and I definitely have no problem with it. But as I said, I can understand why this causes so much division amongst Kiss fans. So there it is, the final Kiss album with no makeup, if that's your thing. And this is called Carnival of Souls, subtitle, The Final Sessions.